in these stands, these younger stands, which is probably, this is probably a 30 to 40 year old stand of trees here. Those areas that had been pre-commercially thinned and then had been grapple piled with the fire burning through them, they fared fairly well with. And we do that not to keep fire from burning through an area, but to keep fire on the surface as it burns through an area to mimic the natural low intensity fires that would burn in these timber types every 10 to 15 years. And so by doing that, we have a historic fire regime, and so the impacts of fire should be fairly what we would have seen 100 years ago in here. On the surface, small pockets of mortality, and then would create some openings for small trees to grow in those openings while maintaining 90% of the area with an overstory of larger trees, mid to large size trees. On this fire, the rail fire, if you look at the whole landscape, there's some portions of this landscape that are high elevation, alpine, subalpine forest, and those really are dependent on landscape fire. So without fire, then the insects and disease came in. The fuels are still there, so when you have a fire, it's you can have some fairly high severity. Looking at the stands here, there's some stands that have some bigger trees in here, and obviously bigger trees, Doug fir and ponderosa pine, are more adapted to fire. They can withstand fire, especially surface fire. And with having the fuels thinned out underneath them by harvest and mechanical treatment, the fire doesn't reach the crowns, and so it's a surface fire that really does no harm. And then as you look over across the road here, we have a stand that's probably 40 to 60 years old that hasn't been treated, and so it's thick in there. The ladder fuels go from the ground to the very tops of the trees, and so they were unable to withstand the same fire that was on the other side of the road. Fire does a lot more than just burn forests. It's a tool, and landscapes out here developed with fire, and they're dependent on fire, and so we take fire out of that, it opens it up to insect and disease. Fire with high severity fire that would kill large amounts of the overstory and reduce the soil productivity until there was no forbs or brush may not be available.